Hey guys, I'm back. More about that at the end of the video. So, in extinct languages we should bring back, I talked about 3 languages: Sumerian, Ainu, and Etruscan. Now, if you know your language families, then you'll know that none of those are Indo-European languages. Well, I figured I should make a video about some extinct Indo-European languages that we should revive. Here we go. First up is Polabian, a member of the Lahidic languages, I believe that's how it's pronounced, which is a subgroup of West Slavic, including Polish, Silesian, Kashubian, and Polabian. Polabian was spoken in what is now northeastern Germany until the 1700s when Low German supplanted it. For many centuries, Pomerania to Prussia was a linguistic melting pot of Slavic and German speakers until the rise of the Prussian kingdom. The most interesting thing about Polabian from a linguistic perspective is its high influence from Low German. It's also theorized that the name of Berlin came from a Polabian name. Now, some of you may be thinking, this is cool, but why should we bring it back? Well, because I like weird minority languages, especially funky varieties of European languages. Bringing back linguistic diversity to a pre-20th century level in Central Europe with Polabian, Old Prussian, and Vimosorisch would be so amazing. And an honorable mention to Greenlandic Norse and Norn, which were going to get their own section of this video, but I realized it would have been saying pretty much the exact same thing. Replace Danish as an administrative language of Greenland with Norse. That would be awesome. Norn is a cool, weird minority language. Yeah, same thing pretty much. Next is Jersey Dutch, which sounds pretty much like it is. A variety of Dutch spoken in New Jersey that was extinct by the early 20th century. I've got colonial Dutch ancestry from New Netherlands, so I am a little biased. Jersey Dutch was descended from older Dutch dialects, largely Zeelandic and West Flemish. It also creolized with the Lenape American Indians and the descendants of slaves brought to the region, as it separated from the Albany region Dutch dialects as spoken by people such as President Martin van Buren and Theodore Roosevelt's grandfather. Interviews of the last speaker in the late 1930s showed that Jersey Dutch loaned a lot of English vocabulary while also retaining many archaic Dutch words, a loss of grammatical gender in articles like Afrikaans, and some pretty substantial sound changes. I'd like to talk more about Jersey Dutch in a future video on European languages in the US and Canada, but for now, it should be revived because multilingualism is awesome, especially America-only languages. I'd love it if Pennsylvania German was spoken more widespread, and Louisiana as a state was just Louisiana French. Northern New Jersey should go back to speaking Dutch. The next 2 languages I think we should bring back for mildly malicious intents: Gaulish, the old Celtic language spoken by the Gauls until they were replaced by Vulgar Latin, and Mozarabic, a Romance language spoken in southern Iberia during the Islamic period. I'm specifically suggesting we revive Gaulish instead of just expanding the scope of Breton, because Breton is not actually a continental Celtic language, but an insular Celtic language of the Brythonic branch, whereas Gaulish is one of the extinct continental Celtic languages that once spread from Western Europe to Anatolia. Mozarabic started out as the common language of Muslim Iberia, featuring heavy influence from Arabic and likely African Romance as well, but ended up shrinking in size during the Reconquista and merging with Portuguese, Castilian, and Catalan. Today it's left a notable influence on Andalusian Spanish, and Spanish as a whole via the Arabic loanwords. Now, why do they deserve to be revived? Well, because I think it would be funny to upset the French and Spanish governments over linguistic policies even more. The French government basically refuses to recognize any minority languages and varieties in favor of standard French, meaning languages like Breton, Basque, Occitan, and other French varieties are quite moribund. Adding in another language to protest this would be cool. And Spain, as you may know, is a mess of regionalism with the Galicians, Asturians, Basques, Aragonese, and Catalans all having their own separate identity from the Castilians. I personally would find it quite funny if Andalusia threw their hat into the ring with Mozarabic. Now, let's talk about Ancient Macedonian, a Hellenic language spoken until the rise of Macedon, when it was replaced by Attic Greek. This one is quite simple as to why we should revive it. Bulgaria is currently blocking North Macedonia's entry to the European Union over the issue of North Macedonia not recognizing Macedonian, the Slavic language, as a Bulgarian dialect, and the Slavic Macedonian people claiming a distinct identity from Bulgaria. I personally have called Bulgarian split squats Macedonian split squats to my Bulgarian friend just to annoy him, and he proceeded to go on a rant about how Macedonian is just Bulgarians speaking a dialect. So my simple solution so there are no more name changes of the country or language issues is for North Macedonia to re-adopt the ancient Macedonian language, and then they can join the EU. I'd also like to talk about the Tocharian family, which is completely extinct, but honestly, I'd like to make an entire video about it someday because it deserves more than a minute of my time. And that's it for animated Connor. On to real life Connor. Hey guys, I'm alive. So, yeah, I kind of took a break, as you could probably tell by the complete lack of videos. I was working pretty much all of the summer, so didn't really have a lot of motivation to work on videos, but now I'm back at school. I am taking 6 classes, so there's a lot of work there, but I do believe the videos are going to be coming back to a normal pace. But yeah, thank you guys for sticking with me through the hiatus. My channel is doing actually quite well given all the activity. And of course, an extreme major shout out and thank you to my Patreon supporters, especially the ones that still give me money, even though I wasn't making anything for a little bit. So yeah, thanks to Benny, Evil Hag, Agmashwa, Office Gobble, Acorn, Eden, Pirate, and Babalingua. I believe that's all of them right now. I love you guys. I needed a break, but yeah, call me Hebrew, the way I'm back. I did think it'd be fitting if my first video back was about extinct languages we should revive. So there's a couple others I already have like partially done, but yeah, I think that's. Oh yeah, channel got monetized a while back. That was great. Join the Discord server. The link's in my descriptions. I think, yeah. Thanks for watching as always.